Hey guys, and welcome to another presentation of the Pagnotta Take on Sports. We did our midseason recap for the country. Now we're going to do our midseason recap for our Tar Heels. And as we really get into it, we're going to start by talking about the 7-1 record that we have to this point so far. The only show that we actually did do about the Tar Heels was a recap of the South Carolina game,
right?
Which we actually lost. But since then we've turned the season around. We've won 7 straight. It's been a little bit of a bumpy ride at times. We've had some close calls, but we played pretty well so far with signature wins against teams like Pittsburgh and Georgia Tech on the schedule now. So we're sitting inside the top 25 for the first time this year. Of course, we were there last year, and when we were inside the top 25, we played like a team that shouldn't have even been in the top 50. So the pressure is on for us to perform this time, but this just feels a little bit different. What have you seen so far from our Heels this year?
They haven't quit in the key parts of the season. You had the 21-0 deficit and come back, so they've been very resilient. And they've played really fundamental. They've been disciplined, and they never quit, and that's a testament to the coaching staff and also the players, because they've also kept a positive mindset, whereas last year, some of these deficits, we don't even make it a game. But 7 straight, they've set a lot of firsts since '97.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been fun.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's been a great ride, and the focus really has been on the defensive improvement brought in by Gene Chizik. But at the same time, I know it might seem weird, but I feel that the offense has gotten a lot better as well.
It's more efficient.
It's more efficient. The slow starts are a little bit of a problem, but we saw against Pittsburgh that when we needed to, we got a faster start. I think some of the decision-making, besides the first game of the year, has looked a lot better than last year. Not some of these ill-advised throws, but, still some things that need to be corrected on both sides of the ball. But we'll talk about that when we go into the defensive, when we go into the units themselves. But we're 7-1 right now. I'm not gonna sit there and pound my chest yet. We still got 4 games to go. We got a huge game this week. I'm hoping that they can win while I'm there, and hopefully we can close it out, because we finished with 2 on the road that are going to be extremely tough. But we'll talk about that a little bit later. So getting into the units, we're going to do the grades for each unit. I'm going to start with the quarterbacks, of course. And from what I've seen this year, I would say it's probably a B+. Definitely the first game of the year has a little bit of an impact on this.
Right.
And there have been some times where Keese has looked a little bit off. We've seen some throws from him that even last year he wouldn't have made these throws. A lot of overthrown balls, mostly. And some decision-making problems, of course, where, we've talked about, when we're watching games, we want him to run instead of trying to force a throw down the field. So what do you think about Keese's performance so far this year?
You take away the first, my South Carolina game, he has been, more efficient. The one he struggles with pocket presence sometimes.
Part of that isn't his fault, but I get you. Yeah.
But he's done a lot better. He's going through his reads and everything, and when we've needed Keese to be great, he's been great.
Exactly.
He's made big-time throws. He's made big-time runs. And he's been a lot smarter because there's not as much pressure on him as there has been in the past. I've been really impressed with him, minus the turnovers, because he's thrown, I think, 7 interceptions. But even that's 3 was in one game.
Yeah, he's only thrown 4 in 7 games. So, he's done a great job.
But, I think I don't want anyone else leading our football team other than Marquise Williams, so I'm glad we have him.
Okay, and while you bring up a good point, we love the way Keese has been in there. He's a great leader.
Right.
He's playing great football, but we've also seen some snaps from our backup due to some of the blowouts, and we saw him against Delaware when we were getting when we were struggling early on and on the ropes there, they made the decision to pull Keese and put in Mitch Trubisky. And before the season started and throughout the early part of the season, we heard a lot from Coach Fedora that he felt confident that we could win with either one of those quarterbacks in there. And right now, from what we've seen, we would think that, we probably could. I think next year is going to be a great year. I don't think there's going to be any drop-off. We may actually be a better team next year from what we've seen from Mitch Trubisky.
I very much agree.
The best thing that I like with what I've seen from him is I knew he was a good passer. And last year, we didn't see a lot of running from him. We've seen some this year, and it is surprising. He might be a better runner than Keese if he keeps working on how he runs. So, I think definitely what he showed us, it's giving us a positive look into the future of this football program. So you got to definitely like that so far this season. So from there we move on to the ground game. This was something that was a little bit questioned before the season. We didn't really know who our starting running back was going to be, but we pretty much found our starting running back week 1. And I mean, right now, I'd say if he plays every snap, he's the best running back in the ACC. The man's a monster. You can't bring him down. And we've been absolutely begging for more snaps, for him to be on the field more. And I mean, it's been everybody. We know guys like Ross Martin, who's an insider for Carolina. He's also trying. He's been saying we need to get him out there more. And we finally have these last really 2 weeks. We've seen a lot more of them, and it's been very effective. So really, to start off, let's just focus on Hood. What have you seen from Hood that makes you feel confident that he's going to be able to carry this team?
Well, I think we fuss about the carries and everything, but I think what you're seeing now is he's still fresh, and he's not worn down because he's not carrying the ball 25, 30 times.
Good point,
the man does not like to be tackled. It takes 2, 3, 4 guys to tackle him.
He's actually scared of being tackled, is what I think they said.
And the problem is with that for defenses is they're not touching him until the second level, so he's already getting 6, 7 yards before he's even getting touched.
Oh yes, definitely.
He's very physical, which a lot of people would think with our spread offense, you don't see a lot of physical running, but he loves to run inside.
Oh yeah.
And I love what he's brought to the offense because he's brought the physicality and the toughness to get the small yards and big moments like the 3rd and 1s and everything. So. I expect him to play well and perform and really keep our offense on schedule as we close out the year.
Exactly. Yeah, I totally agree. I think, he's a great running back. The carries have been part of the reason he doesn't get enough recognition, and the fact that he plays in the ACC as well.
Yeah.
I'm going to say if he played in the SEC, he would get a little more recognition because of the conference. But I think definitely he's someone you got to keep an eye on nationally. This is not just for Tar Heel fans or even ACC fans. This guy is something special, and people got to get behind it.
All I want to say is he was supposed to go to Notre Dame, and he's at Carolina, so he was supposed to be big time.
Yeah,
and right now he's being big time.
Yeah, Larry did a great job to get him away from there. But other than that, we have seen some of our other running backs. We believed before the season started that T.J. Logan would probably be our starter.
Yeah.
And from what we've seen from him, it hasn't been great, but he's shown flashes. He had the game against Virginia. That's where he had the touchdown, where he played pretty well. Romar Morris, I think they've used him actually perfect. Yeah. I love the way they've used him. Out of the backfield, he's gotten a few carries, but he's mostly been used in the passing game, which I really love. And Tystone Williams, who we saw early in the year, I think they've done the right thing with him. He's so similar to Hood, and there's just so many guys in that backfield. I don't know if they have officially redshirted him,
right?
But we haven't seen him in a while, so we're thinking that, and I think that was the correct move to try and redshirt him and get him another year. So what have you seen from some of our other running backs?
Well, the thing about Logan is he runs hard. He's not tiptoeing or anything, and that really, and I think he's got a little bit more speed than Hood. Or at least
you're right. Yeah, no, you're not lying about that.
And so that helps because he also likes to run inside, but he can also get outside and make it a foot race.
Yes. Uh-huh.
And the thing with Romar Morris, I like the way we use him. Would I like to see him used more? Sure, but
There's just not enough snaps in the game to get
because we only
him.
run 63 snaps.
Which is apparently horrible for us.
Well, I
we
think
should be up in the 80s or 90s.
Fewest in the country, I think was what that stat read Thursday night.
If that's what's going to win games, and again, we talked about this as probably being the Gene Chizik influence of saying to slow it down. But yeah, I see what you're saying. I'd love to see Romar out there because I love what Romar can do.
More importantly, I think he should be more used in the return game. With the kickoff.
He should be the kickoff man because he's faster than Logan. And I don't understand. Now, we want Switzer back there, but I guess I understand why they don't want him back there. But, yeah, I mean, I can see where you would say you want to see more of Romar Morris. And the thing I've been most impressed about with T.J. Logan is you could tell last year when he wasn't the starter, he didn't seem to... It seemed to get him down. Like, he just didn't play all that great. But he's embraced that backup role. When he's been in the game, he's really played well. So I definitely commend him for that. And I think, he's got to keep fighting because I think he's going to get just as many carries, maybe not as many as Hood, but he should get just as many carries as, maybe some of the other backs that we're going to have even down the road. So definitely a good job by him so far this year. Then we move on to the wide receivers. I combined the wide receivers and the tight ends in here. I gave them a B-plus grade overall. There's been some good moments. There's been some moments where we struggled. The tight end, I think, has been the biggest area. We haven't found that tight end yet. I mean, Singleton's played well, but he hasn't been great. But, I mean, when you got Matt Collins going deep every time, catching, a touchdown every time he catches the ball, he's definitely – we've looked good, especially with the deep passing. I've really liked Hollins. Switzer's playing a lot better these last couple of weeks than he began the season playing. Quinshaw Davis is just that guy that if they need to go to him, they can go to him. There's been some other guys that have stepped up, but one guy that I don't understand how all of a sudden that he just disappeared out of the offense is Bug Howard. We saw him in the first couple of games. He played well, and we haven't seen anything from him in the past 2 or 3 weeks so far, and I would also just love to see Austin Prohl play more. I thought he's played well when he's been in there. I think he deserves more snaps from what I've seen from him. So, what do you think so far from the wide receiver and tight end group?
Well, I think when we talk about the tight ends, Singleton I think has 8 catches. But I think also he's using more. He's more of a blocking tight end.
Yeah.
And I think that's why you haven't seen the Eric Ebron kind of role with the tight end this year.
Which is shocking for him because he was a wide receiver beforehand. So that's what we were expecting.
But I think they used him more as a blocking end. But which that's fine. I think you think about Quinshaw Davis. I want to congratulate him on breaking Hakeem's records.
We were there for the touchdowns. We were there for the touchdowns and the receptions.
And the receptions.
Yeah, great job, Quinshaw. Great job.
I feel good for him bouncing back after the gruesome injury in the bowl game last year. So
it hasn't affected him at all. I think he's still our best receiver. I don't care what anyone says.
The Switzer. He's still Switzer. He's gonna.
He's that electrifying player.
Yeah. And Matt Collins. I mean, he's had 2 games this year where he had 3 catches for 3 touchdowns in both games.
Can't really beat that. I mean,
he's about as efficient as they come whenever you catching the ball and scoring. The Buck Howard thing. Yeah, it's weird because South Carolina could not guard him.
Oh yeah.
They could not tackle him. He is 6'4", and I don't know. Maybe it's just something he's not doing something in practice.
I don't think it has anything to do with the coaching, or even maybe not even him. Like it's all of a sudden like he's just disappeared.
Yeah.
I think some of it is the Mac Hollins effect because they realize that the offensive line does not give Keese enough time. So you got to have that deep threat. And look, Bug is a good receiver.
I think the problem is
he's just not fast enough to be that deep threat. He's just not fast enough. The
problem is they don't want 2 possession guys on the outside, and that's what Quinshaw is, and that's what Buck Howard. They're big physical receivers, but they're more possession, first down kind of guys. Where Matt Collins, if he catches the ball, he can turn on the Jets and go for 6.
And since this is Quinshot's senior year, he should be the guy that'll step in next year. So we should see that from him. And the tight end position. Brandon Fritz showed it in the game against A&T. Haven't really seen him really since then.
The only thing he did good is really, I've been impressed. He recovered 2 fumbles that we let loose in the Pitt game, which really
I did not know that. I wasn't able to watch that game.
Which was
Wow.
really huge. I mean, I was freaking out because I was like, yes, you kept us to football. But, yeah, there's a lot of depth that's being built there, too.
Well, somewhat. I mean, we lost Caleb Samuel, which hurt because he played great against Georgia Tech. We saw him a lot out there. And absolutely just horrible that his football career has to end. And but yeah, definitely some encouraging signs, and I think Fritz is going to be a big part of the offense next year because he went to the same high school and is friends with Trubisky, so that connection will definitely show. So then we move to the offensive line, the final unit on the offense. I give him a B overall. The run offensive line play, I guess you would say. I mean, it's probably been it's A plus work. It's been amazing,
great.
But when we have to pass, it has been very suspect, especially on the edges.
Yeah.
It started out with I don't remember who was our offensive tackle in game 1, but all I know is they went down, and since then it's been Ferranto.
Well, you remember Ferranto started the year hurt, so that also played into why he didn't play, but. Yeah, the tackles have struggled.
Yeah, him and Heck have struggled.
Now the center and guards. I mean,
one of the best in the ACC.
Landon Turner's won like offensive lineman of the week, like 4 straight weeks or something like that.
I mean, Landon Turner, I'm going to tell you right now, he is the best offensive lineman outside of the SEC. That man knows how to play. He is a great guard. I absolutely love Landon Turner. He is growing to be one of my favorite players on the team, and this is an offensive lineman.
Right.
I don't. It's not that I don't like offensive linemen. It's very rare that I like them over position players, but I'm telling you, the way he leads that team as well. But yeah, you're right. Then you got Peterson on the left side, who's great, and you got Crowley in the middle. All 3 of those guys are absolute monsters on the inside. They have a great relationship just from watching some of the Inside Carolina videos too. So the connection really works. And I want to say this about our tackles. Even though you haven't protected Keith great in the pass game, what you've done in the run game has been pretty good. Heck is a great run blocker.
Yeah.
He can't hold a block long enough to give Keith time to pass. Now, some of this is Keith's fault because he takes a long time to get rid of the football. But some of that could also be the routes the receivers are running or something, along those lines because we love to run those deep routes. But I mean, definitely some encouraging things. It's a lot better than we thought it was going to be coming into the season. So anything else you want to really say?
It's been a fun offense to watch.
Yeah. And they, it always starts with your offensive line. They're the ones that anchor you. So, great job in the run blocking. Just got to pick up that pass blocking just a little bit. Then we move to the defensive side of the ball, and we start up front. Probably our worst unit on the entire football team. And it's not that they're horrible, it's just they haven't been able to be as effective as we were hoping they could be. But we knew this could happen because we didn't see it a lot last year. The year started out very well up front in the run game, and it's kind of tailed off as it's gone along. They're not able to quite get that first step off the line, and I don't really blame them because you got the same 4 guys that are out there the entire time because we've got no depth due to injury.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to really get at it every play when you're the only guys that are out there. But at that, we saw Nazir Jones again. I thought he played pretty well before he got injured, and I would love to know what the injury status with him is. I absolutely have no idea. And I am getting a little concerned because I did not think it was this severe of an injury. So hopefully we'll see him back. But guys like Jeremiah Clark, he's played pretty well this year. Thomason, he's played all right. We've seen like Jalen Dalton getting some snaps on the inside right now. And on the outside, there's only really been one guy that has been really effective, and that's been the past couple of weeks. That's been Nonconde.
Yeah.
We've seen a little bit of it from Drennan, but not as much as we wanted to hope, and the rest of them have been, they've been there, but they're not as effective as we were really hoping. So what have you thought about the defensive line so far this year?
I think the past 2 weeks you've seen gradual improvement. We've been able.
Definitely.
I think the bigger issue is like whenever we're getting to the quarterback, we're not getting the quarterback down. That's the most
A lot of
frustrating
that from
thing.
Mikey Bart, who's
Yeah.
been improving these past couple of weeks, but it's almost every time they get in there, you're right, they find a way to
Yeah.
somehow get away.
But you know, the rush defense I think is somewhat disheartening because we're dead last in the ACC and everything. But you know, there's improvement. You know, the lack of depth and you know has shown with injuries and everything. But you know, I think the defensive line coach Trey Scott's done a great job. You know, they're progressing and they keep battling even though when they're struggling because we've lit up.
Yeah.
I mean, look what we did to Georgia Tech. They ran for like 240-something yards in the first half and ran for like 52 in the second. So, and we've played a lot of teams that all they want to do is run the football, and we've been able to adjust in the second half. And and that all starts with defensive line.
Yeah, a lot of the linebackers and the secondary, especially against Georgia Tech, received a lot of the credit in that game because they're the ones that were making the tackles. But the defensive line is what keeps the ball from going up the middle. It's what keeps, you know, it pushes the ball outside and allows the linebackers to get there. But you're right. We wanted to see more of the pass rush, and it's been growing as the season's gone along. There's definitely room for improvement, but I'm going to say this. I think it's better than last year already, and because last year's pass rush was one of the worst I've seen in a long time. Now, the problem is for us, we've been spoiled. We've seen guys come through like Kareem Martin, like Quentin Coples, like Robert Quinn. We had these guys that were monsters. Sly Williams getting to the quarterback almost every play. He was in their face if they were throwing the ball. Marvin Austin.
They were getting there.
Every time. And now it's kind of just like if you get there once or twice in a game, you're like, okay, you know. But you know, you got to worry about how that's going to wear down the secondary. But they've held up pretty good. So we moved to the linebackers. I got them at a B+. This has been probably the most exciting unit on the team due to two guys. Jeff Schottmer, no, it's not just because of the long hair. We love the long hair, but he's played great again this year. He's the leader. Really, I think he's the leader of the defense. Emotionally. And then you got Shaq Rashad, who, I mean, at this point, he's definitely an all-ACC first-team shoe-in at linebacker. He's had an unbelievable season. You know, he played good last year, but not quite as good as we've seen him this year. And the other linebacking spot, we haven't really heard a lot about it, but at the same time, I think that's a good thing because Cason Collins has done his job out there. You know, we lost Joe Jackson.
Well, actually, Andre Smith started the past like 2 games or something.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's been playing extensive.
I mean, I love that because I love Andre Smith. He's been playing great, but you know, I mean, that's the thing. We haven't really focused on that. I mean, it's because the focus is so much on Rashad and on Schottmer. But yeah, that's definitely encouraging to see some of our young guys getting in there with Collins, with Smith, and they've been playing well. So, what do you think about the linebacking corps?
You know, they've done a lot better job easily with tackling in space. Schottmer's done a very good job keeping our defense in the keeping us in the right defense and
getting us set. That was a problem last year that we had.
So you know, and you know the whole Schottmer thing. You know, with the whole leader of the football team, I agree. The dude was out there last week with the leg injury, and they said that most dudes wouldn't play with what he was dealing with, but he was out there and fought hard. So. They've really done good. You know, we've got a very good linebacker coach and John Papuchis.
He is one of the best that we could have gotten.
So,
of course.
I enjoy watching great linebacking play and great linebacking corps, and I think when we talk like in the ACC, we got one of the better ones with Rashad, with Schottmer, with Collins and Andre Smith.
And we've got some guys that we can rotate in there too. Oh yeah, you definitely. The only area where we've struggled a bit is when we do have to go into coverage.
Yeah.
And it's been a little weird because last year Schottmer was so good there, but at times they've exploited him. I understand, look, Rashad, okay, Shaq Rashad used to be, when he first came on campus, he was a defensive end. So it makes a little bit of sense that he's not the best coverage man. And I don't think it really matters because I think our safeties have done a good enough job keeping the ball out of the hands of some of those shorter guys, like the running backs coming out of the backfield. I mean, you know, this unit, I mean, they've been about as good as I think most people could have hoped. Another thing I would like to see is a little bit more help in the pass rush. But right now,
but a lot of that is Gene Chizik doesn't blitz.
Doesn't matter. At this point, we're winning games, so I'm not the one making the play calls. Gene's the one up there. You keep doing your thing, buddy. You got us 7-1. And then, so from there, we move into the defensive backfield. This was one of our biggest question marks on the team coming into the year. I mean, I don't know how to explain it. Extraordinary?
Yeah.
It's a miracle?
It's easily the most improved position on our whole entire football team.
No doubt.
I mean, I think we're second in the country, or entering the pick, and we were second in the country in pass yards per game. Yeah.
You stop that stat right now. Don't you say that.
It was like 173 yards we were allowing per game.
You have got to be kidding.
Yeah. It's they've been really fun to watch.
It's been exciting, yeah. I mean, it's night and day with some of these corners, like Lawrence and Stewart. It's like, is this the same guy we saw last year? It looks like a different player. But yeah, for sure. Coming in, I mean, last year, Donnie Miles really battled for the starting job last year. Never really won it. It was a back and forth battle. And now this year, he got the job outright, which was questioned by some people. I don't know how to really explain what he's done. I mean, he's been great. He's led the team. I don't know if he still leads the team in tackles. I think Shaq Rashad may have taken that over by now. But if not, he's right there. He is unbelievable. I mean, he is one of those guys that if he's heading in your direction, he's pretty much going to make the tackle.
Yeah.
He's been pretty good in coverage, but we haven't really needed him in coverage. We just needed him to be that line of defense. And speaking of the last line of defense, Sam Smiley, I think, has greatly improved from what he was last year.
I mean, I'm telling you, it's easily the most improved.
Oh, it's just
unit,
it's
and you saw that in the first game of the season. Their technique's better. It's just a lot more cleaner, a lot more efficient.
Oh yeah,
definitely. And I think more importantly, they're confident in themselves. I mean, they call themselves the Rude Boys, and they've played really rude all year. When they hit you, you feel it. You know what I'm saying? So.
Oh yeah, and you notice a lot more laying out for balls to try to knock it down. Whereas last year, we just we didn't feel that we had that. This year, you got to go all out and find a way to knock that ball down. And this is how it shows me that we've gotten so much better. The guy that I wanted as our starting corner, who I thought was our best starting corner, is a slot corner this year, and that's Brian Walker. And meanwhile, on the outside, Stewart and Lawrence are just killing it. Yeah. I mean, it's been great. So then we moved to the special teams.
Probably our second most improved unit in the kicking game.
The nightmare for Tar Heel fans last year. Remember watching the Virginia game? Nick Weiro lines up for a field goal. We're not going to make it. We got lucky that they were offside at that point. This year, when he lines up for a field goal, I am saying to myself, we got this.
He's automatic.
He is great. I love the way he's improved. He is growing into a great young kicker. The man has potential. And you could see it last year. And I always questioned, why do we not work with this kid more? Why don't we try to make him our starting kicker? We were so focused around Thomas Moore, who, no offense, just couldn't get the job done. So when we finally moved on to Weiler this offseason, I mean, they said there was a kicking battle, but I really think they were trying to get Weiler to be the man. He's been great. I mean, he's still great in the kickoffs, too. It hasn't affected the kickoff game. Now, the only reason this is an A- in my book is because of the punting. The punting has been bad at times, but, I mean, at the same time, I mean, they, little over-exaggerated in the preseason. They literally thought we were going to have to go for it, and they were fourth down. They said that there wasn't a proven punter, but I know Corbin Daly's been a little hit or miss, but I've liked what Corbin Daly has done when he's kicked the ball well.
Yeah, opposed to the other guy.
Hunter Lent, I don't know if maybe it's just the way that he punts, but it's not only like it doesn't look effective. Now it is. I mean, you can get 40-yard punts out of it, but I just don't like it because it is so dangerous. It's such a low-line drive that even if your guys are looking back for the ball, it's hitting the ground. It can bounce off of one of your own players, or, I mean, you know, because most of those players, they know, get out of the way. You don't want anything happening to where, you know, maybe it bounces off the foot of one of your players and back into play, and you got a dude behind all your coverage men running free. So, you know, but at the same time, I mean, the punt return game, again, it's not as good as that first year. I don't think we're going to see that type of magic ever.
Yeah.
But, you know, we saw it against Illinois, and we've seen it at other times this year. I'm not even going to mention the other time that we saw a great return. You know, but, you know, definitely some improvement. Again, the kick return game, we want to see Romar back there, or someone that's a little more effective. But even there, we've had our moments. So what do you think about the special teams so far?
You know, Fedora, you know, he stresses great play in that, and, you know, I think they're a big reason why we're 7-1, because we know when we get inside the 30, you know, we don't have to necessarily get 7. We want 7.
Of course,
but we know that we can get 3 now.
Exactly. We feel safe. Yeah.
And that changes, you know, the mindset of the play calling. You know, and I think it gives the defense confidence, because that gives them, you know, I don't know. I just think that, you know, the kicking game's better. You know, Waller does a good job putting the ball in the end zone. 60%, a lot of times it's a touchback, I think is what I saw.
Yeah.
You know, the punting is hit or miss, but quite frankly, we don't really punt a whole lot, because we don't have a lot of possessions, but when we have possessions, we maximize them.
And I understand the field position thing, which is what people always argue, but the more consistent guy is Daly.
Yeah.
I really feel that. I know he's been hit or miss, but when he does punt it, I mean, we saw against South Carolina, I think he had like a 58-yard punt or something like that. He can boom it when he gets it going. But yeah, I mean, you know, we were there for the only punt return of the year as well, and it was extremely exciting. And that game, there were, you know, they had kicked to him a couple of times like that. But definitely this year, as opposed to last year, a lot better blocking. Yeah. Last year was horrible special teams blocking. It was atrocious watching them block. And kick returning, even there, it's been a little bit better. But, I mean, there's been a couple of times I've seen, like, Logan run into his own guy and stuff like that, where you're just kind of like,
you got to see the
really?
whole
I mean, I understand. Okay, you know, we don't need the greatest returns because we got a great offense, but we would like to see some really good returns. So we've gotten through that. Now let's go on. We're going to give our offensive and defensive MVPs. I'll start with my offensive MVP. I think so far it's the leader of the offense, and I think the leader of the whole team in general. He is the voice of the team, and that's Landon Turner. This is an offensive guard that, I mean, he has turned the culture of North Carolina himself, pretty much, because he started the I've got your back thing.
Yeah.
We never had that last year. Everyone, I'm not going to say everyone was playing for themselves. I don't think that's true, but there was a lot of, it seemed like a lot of selfish play. They were worried about what can I do on the field. Now, Landon Turner has stepped up, and he's saying, look, we need to play as a whole unit. Right. And we need, I've watched the little documentary that they did on him, you know, a little bit of a 10-minute thing that Inside Carolina did on him, and I absolutely loved it. The man is a hard worker. He's out there every day on the field. He's in school making unbelievable grades. And he really is the guy that I think has made this team. It starts up front on the offensive line, and he's the leader of the offensive line. Yeah. He's had a great year, and that's another guy. You said Schottmer had the injuries, and I love Schottmer being out there. It's the same thing with Landon Turner. We've seen him go down before, but it doesn't matter how injured he is. He's going to find a way to get back out there. I'm telling you. He could severely injure his leg, and he'd still want to get up and just keep going. Yeah. And I absolutely love that from him. So, you know, who's your offensive MVP?
I'd probably have to go with Hood, because he brings the running game from the running back position that we've never had.
Exactly. You're right.
And he sets the tone for as our offense from the first time he touches the ball, because he don't care if it's a 1-yard play. He's going to find someone and go run him over. And, you know, so he just comes out and sets the tone, and he's taking a lot of pressure off of Keys and everything. So I think with what he's done with limited touches, you know, I have a lot of respect for what he's done. So I think offensively he's our MVP, because I think you take him away, our offense looks a whole lot different.
Oh, yeah, I respect that.
Without Elijah Hood.
Exactly. So. I think I have him second. Other guys that I threw on my list, Keese, as well as Mac Hollins with what he's done, Switzer, and you brought up a good one in Quinshot, of course. Really, there's a lot of guys that get put up there. You can even throw in like guys like Crowley, guys like Peterson. All these guys have done a great job. But those two I think have really stood out, the two that we mentioned. On defense, I think it's pretty easy in most people's minds who's our defensive MVP. I think it's Shaq Rashad.
Yeah.
This guy, he has single-handedly pretty much run this defense. Like when you have a defensive play, they always have to mention his name.
Right.
And we hear all the corny jokes that Wes Durham and his little partner that he's got on Fox Sports South are making about his Twitter handles and all that stuff. Well, no one cares about that. I love his Twitter handle, but in game, the dude's a monster. Every time he hits you, I'm shocked you get up because he's trying to hit you as hard as he possibly can. He's a leader on the field. He plays with emotion, but at the same time, he doesn't get over emotional. He keeps the same face the whole game, but you can tell he is in the game. He's not really an extremely verbal leader, but we don't need him to be a verbal leader.
Yeah.
When you got a guy like Schottmer, you got guys like I noticed Drennan. He likes to talk a lot. He's trying to pump everyone up. So, I definitely love what he's done so far, and I think by far he's the MVP. He can do it all. He tackles, he's got interceptions and everything like that. So, what do you think about the defense?
Yeah, I agree. Like, if there's like a second guy, it'd be Donnie Miles.
Oh, I have Donnie second, easy.
So,
but
Shaq's played great. He's come a long way since running the Duke guy over 3 years ago. You know what I'm saying? Coming onto the field. He's matured. He makes plays. He's just a really good football player, and I'm glad he wears a Tar Heel jersey on Saturdays.
Of course.
So,
And I definitely, that's a great point that you bring up. He was a guy that I remember they had said, well, this is going to be a guy he won't make it through a couple of years. He'll be a guy that has off the field problems, or he'll have disciplinary issues, and he's turned it around. He's a model guy now. He does a great job, and I love what he's done this year. Like you mentioned, Donnie Miles, definitely got to give him a shout-out. He's been great. He's really locked down that back five, really, that we've run almost all year. MJ Stewart at the corner position, he's definitely improved.
Oh, yeah.
And, honestly, any of those guys could be, because any of those three could be up there. It's just they've all been playing so great. Schottmer, definitely got to mention him. He's playing great as always. And Des Lawrence at the cornerback position, he's played great, especially in recent weeks. These last 2 or 3 weeks, he's been on fire. So, now as we look forward to what we're going to see for the rest of the year, I'm going to tell you right now, I am not making a prediction on our record, because it does not matter what I think. It does not matter what Larry thinks our record's going to be. It does not matter what the Charlotte Observer thinks or whatever Paul Feinbaum thinks, which he doesn't care because he's talking about the SEC. We got to focus game to game. But looking ahead, we've got 2 home games, the game against Duke and the game against Miami. You've got 2 road games to finish up the year. At Virginia Tech, which is a tough game anyways because it's in Lane Stadium, and you've got at NC State.
Yeah.
So, we just got to take it game by game. Looking at this week, we got to be sound in the run game.
Mm-hmm.
We got to be able to run the football well. We've got to be able to throw the ball. I think we can attack their secondary with some of the deep throws. They haven't really been attacked deep because you look at the teams they've played. Virginia Tech, Brewer can throw the ball a little bit. He can't throw deep now because his shoulder got destroyed in that game against Ohio State. And then got to be able to stop Sirk. We know he can run, but he can also pass. So we got to be ready for whatever they're going to throw at us. And I think we got to be able to get some pressure in there. And if you get in on him, you have to bring him down. Do not let him get out in open space. And then, Miami, we saw the win against Duke, but still, some things that they need to do before they play us. But right now, we got to focus on that Duke game, and I think we've got ourselves a chance to win the Coastal. Yeah. We're in first place alone, and all I'm going to say is let's close it out. And I'm going to tell you this right now. Make me buy a ticket to see you guys play. Make me spend my money, okay? Make me go into debt, even though that won't happen. Don't worry about that. I will find a way to pay to watch you guys play, but please put my rear in a seat in Bank of America Stadium on, what's the date of the ACC?
It'll be like
the 6th, right? Something like that?
Something like that.
All right. So thanks for watching this, the Tar Heel midseason wrap-up. We will definitely do one for sure at the end of the season to wrap everything up if we're not able to do something before then for the Tar Heels. So as I always say, if you like the show, subscribe to my channel. You can follow me at Future Tar Heel on Twitter. And, of course, my buddy Josh Marlow, you can follow him at Future UNC Grad. Both of us, of course, will put stuff about Carolina. We'll put stuff about national sports. We just, we love to talk about sports. So go ahead and follow us. So thank you guys for watching. And remember, subscribe if you like.